We talk all the time about AI thinking, but what's actually going on in there? I mean, really? Well, a brand new wave of research is suggesting it's not just a bunch of code. It might be something with a structure, almost like a physical object. Today, we're going to explore the molecular structure of digital thought. So let's just ask the big question right up front. How does an AI really think? Is it just a straight line of logic? One step after another, like a chain? Or is it something way more complex? Maybe even something a little bit alive? Well, the researchers behind this incredible paper, they're proposing this really wild new metaphor. They're saying that good, effective AI reasoning isn't a simple chain at all. Nope. They want us to picture it as a complex molecule, folding in on itself, creating bonds in these very specific, stable ways. And let me tell you, this one idea, it changes absolutely everything. Now, to really get why this whole molecular view is such a big deal, we've got to first look at a huge problem that AI developers are smashing their heads against right now. Okay, so here's the fundamental challenge. LLMs, they're amazing at so many things, right? But when you give them a problem that needs a long, complicated chain of thought, they fall apart. They start to lose track, they contradict themselves, and the whole logical structure just kind of disintegrates. And what's so wild about this is that all the obvious solutions, they're just not working. The paper points out that the standard ways of training, like showing an AI a bunch of examples of human logic or having a smarter AI teach a dumber one, it just doesn't work for these really tough, complex problems. And this chart right here, it just makes the point so perfectly. I mean, look at this. The only time the model actually learns this complex reasoning skill is when it's taught by a really strong, specialized AI teacher. Trying to learn from weaker AIs or even from human examples, the needle barely moves. It's obvious there's some secret ingredient here, and it's not just about copying. So if just imitating the answer fails, then what actually works? And this brings us right back to that aha moment from the research. We have to completely reframe what thought even is. The big shift in thinking is this. We have to stop seeing AI reasoning as a simple, flat line from A to B to C. Instead, what if it's a stable three-dimensional structure? With all these interconnected parts, where the overall shape is what gives it its strength and coherence. And here's that amazing visual again. I mean, they're not just speaking metaphorically, they literally modeled the reasoning process as if it were a molecule, with different kinds of logical steps acting like chemical bonds that hold the whole thing together. Okay, so what are these logical bonds? Well, the researchers, they dug in and identified 3 different types of connections that give this thought molecule its unique shape and, more importantly, its stability. First up, you've got deep reasoning. They compare this to a covalent bond in chemistry, which, is super strong. This is your pure, unbreakable, sequential logic. Think, if A happens, then B must happen. It's the sturdy backbone of the whole argument. Next, we have self-reflection, which acts like a hydrogen bond. And this is where things get really cool. This is when a step way down the line in the reasoning process actually reaches back to an earlier step to double-check its work. It creates this fold in the molecule, which makes it incredibly stable and allows it to self-correct over really long chains of thought. And finally, there's self-exploration, which is like the weak van der Waals force. These are the little tentative connections, the what if we try this, or maybe this is related steps. They aren't strong on their own, but they're what allow the model to bridge totally different concepts and make those creative leaps. So this table gives us a great little summary. You've got the super strong covalent bonds for your core logic. You've got the folding hydrogen bonds that add stability and let it check its own work. And then you have those weaker van der Waals forces for creativity and exploration. It's the combination of all 3 that makes a thought robust. Okay, so now we get to what I think is the most mind-blowing insight of this entire paper. It turns out that the arrangement of these bonds, the actual shape of the molecule, is way, way more important than the specific words the AI is using. To explain this, the researchers use this brilliant concept from chemistry called semantic isomers. Think about it like this. You can have 2 AI-generated answers to the same problem. They might use similar facts, maybe even similar words, and get to the same conclusion. But one feels solid and convincing, and the other just feels flimsy, right? That's because they have different underlying molecular structures. And that structural difference makes all the difference. So here's the real kicker. The AI isn't just learning to spit out keywords like but or so or maybe. It's learning the deep behavior behind those words, like the act of revising a hypothesis or making a contrast. The structure, the function, that's what matters, not just the word itself. And they actually proved it. This quote from the paper is just wild. It basically says that even if you take out all the normal keywords or even replace them with total nonsense words, the AI can still learn to reason just as well, as long as you keep that underlying molecular structure of the thought process the same. This leads to a really important conclusion. If you try to teach an AI by mixing together data from two different but equally stable reasoning structures, these isomers, you don't get a super AI. You get total chaos. It's like mixing two chemicals that just don't react well. The competing structures actually tear each other apart, and the AI's ability to reason just becomes unstable and useless. So, what do we do with all this? I mean, this is a fascinating theory, but how can we actually use this incredible insight to build better, smarter AIs? Well, based on this whole molecular theory, the researchers created a practical framework they call MolSyn, which is short for molecular synthesis. And it's basically a recipe for building better AI reasoners from the ground up. The process is actually pretty brilliant. First, you take a top-performing AI and you analyze its molecular structure. Then you create a blueprint of its reasoning patterns, its unique mix of bonds. And finally, you use that blueprint to generate massive amounts of brand new training data that has that perfect structure baked right in. Then you can use that data to teach other AIs. And the results? Are they any good? Oh yeah, they are staggering. A model trained using this MolSyn method saw an average performance jump of almost 31% across 6 different reasoning benchmarks. In the world of AI development, that is not a small improvement. That is a massive, massive leap forward. All because they started treating thought like a molecule. This research just blows the doors wide open. If AI reasoning really has a structure that we can map and analyze and even synthesize, what else is waiting for us to discover? We might seriously be standing at the dawn of an entirely new science, the science of digital thought, and exploring a universe we're only just now beginning to see.